So let me recall an important point that we made when discussing the international scenario on cooperatives. The US government said that cooperatives are the bedrock of the rural economy and that the US economy would not do so well but for these cooperatives. If you look around the world, the superstructure is really the information technology, the knowledge economy, manufacturing, industrialization, and so on. But at the basis, we are still back to food, and a large percentage of the population in places like India still are in the primary sector of agriculture. And unless that sector comes up, it will be very difficult for the nation as a whole to develop. So in India, small producers like farmers, weavers, artisans, fishermen, those who rear cows, buffalo, goat, sheep and other animals far outnumber any other section of the population. However, they do not get the full benefit of a market economy and inequality continues to grow. So are cooperatives one way to make them prosperous? Let's see. Small producers usually get between 10 and 20% of the value that the final consumer pays. For instance, groundnut farmers get about rupees 50 per kg in 2017, but peanut butter sells for well over 500 rupees. The same is true for fruit juices, biscuits, bread and even processed commodities like pulses and cereals like rice and atta or wheat. Amul is an example from the dairy sector that bridged this gap, the gap between what the producer gets and what the final consumer pays. So let me raise a few questions here. How do we think about raising 100 million farmers to prosperity? I'm not saying that all of them are poor, but the vast majority of them are indeed poor. And we hear again and again of farmer distress, people abandoning farming, and unfortunately we also hear of farmer suicides. So is cooperatives the only way? Is it going to work? Are there alternative ways of doing it? So this is some questions that we need to ask ourselves, and I will try to attempt a partial answer and leave it to you to think about it in greater depth during the rest of the course. So let me give you an example of a typical small farmer in a drought prone region. He would own something like 1 hectare to 2 hectares of land. The entire year's agricultural economy for him in his household economy really depends on rainfall. And since it's in a drought prone region, the rains are very, very erratic and he may or may not get a high income. Typically, what kind of crops do these people grow? They grow dryland crops like oil seeds, groundnut and soya, or pulses or dals of various types, and in some places they grow cotton, and in a very few places minor millets like ragi, jawar, bajra and so on. So what do these farmers expect from a cooperative, at least conceptually? Such farmers are often in debt from moneylenders. They get very low income, which is highly erratic. And the most important thing is they are not able to access the market, which means that the small amount of produce that they have, they are selling it locally to the local trader. There are various words we use, dalal, aarti, vyapari, so many words are there. So these people come and buy the produce from the farmer. This is where the problem really starts. The farmer is not able to bargain and get a proper price for the produce. Invariably, the smaller the farmer is, the more he gets cheated. So up to 10 to 20% of the value of the produce is actually taken away by the trader, who completely undervalues the price and the total amount of money that the farmer should get. Why does this happen? Because the farmer is not in a position to bargain with this trader, and next year he has to go back to the same trader for taking a loan, And since farmers are always in loan for various household needs, for daughter's wedding, some health problem, whatever the reason is, he has to go back to the same trader, and so he's not really in a position to bargain with him to get a fair price. If this was an isolated problem, we would say, okay, a few people will always suffer. But this is the case for the vast majority of small farmers in India, and the government itself says that well over 80% of farmers in India are small farmers. Now, if you look at the situation from that small farmer's point of view, how is he going to come out of this and at least get a fair value for the produce that is coming out of his farm? There have been some attempts by corporates to do this. So they enter an area, they buy the produce at a fair price from the farmer and give him a fair value. But this does not address the last mile gap usually, because the company is not in a position to go to each and every farmer and get the produce from him. So they in turn depend on traders to bring the produce to them. Now it is not known whether the trader is really giving a fair deal to the farmer or doing the same old thing that he was doing earlier. The second issue is that the corporation which buys the farmer's produce no doubt gives a fair value of the produce at that time. But however, value addition, processing, marketing, branding, etc. is completely in the hands of the corporation, and the farmer gets only a small fraction of it. So let me put some numbers on this. Wheat farmers get about 15 rupees minimum support price, MSP, when they sell their wheat. After processing, wheat is sold in India at well over 30 rupees a kg, and the cost of conversion is not that much. So if the trader is cheating them a little bit, that amount of gap certainly a company coming in and buying directly from the farmer will cover. But what about the huge upswing, the huge value that the farmer is going to miss? So how would he get access to that? Individually, each farmer cannot set up an atta chakki or a flour mill and put it into packets and brand it and sell it all over the country. By necessity, a large number of farmers would have to come together, pool their wheat together, jointly set up wheat flour mill and take the atta or wheat flour, put it into packets and market it in the urban areas. So this is the fundamental reason why we need cooperatives in India, because a very large number of small producers are unable to realize the full value of the hard work that they do in farming. Is it going to lead to prosperity? Well, the international experience shows that millions of farmers have actually benefited from cooperatives. Can we do this in India? We will discuss this in the rest of the course.